And welcome back, fourth and long fans. It's your footy correspondent, Coach Donnie Hess here, back with another AFLW round review. And ladies and gentlemen, I have a very special guest. Yes, she's back, my Gold Coast fan, and another absolutely awesome women's footy correspondent, and that is Miss Sasha Doherty. Sasha, how are you doing?
Hi, I'm great, thank you. I am feeling good, especially with the Suns. Apart from, we can discuss that later, but they're doing well this round. They're doing well in general.
Well, they are one of my teams that I love watching them. They're one that I've fallen in love with. I love so many of their players. Tara Bohannon, Perkins. I could go on and on, but I
Mm-hmm.
think we've got plenty of games. We have 8 games of footy to talk about. Oh my gosh, we have 8 games. We didn't have any canceled, so let's get right into
I
it.
know,
Right off the back,
marathon.
we'll jump down to the kennel where the Western Bulldogs edge out another pesky performance by the Geelong Cats, 28-16, a 12-point win. I mean, I know this Doggies team has just been through the meat grinder when it comes to it for 20 days off, but they're playing some really good footy right now.
They are. And look, they have, I don't want to, finally, I guess they've finally found their groove with everything that's happened to them this season, which is, it's a unique circumstance. But yeah, what a game. I mean, they probably could have won by more than 12 points, but I think in the end they'll take the 2 goals and go away with it. It's a winning streak, which they haven't had in a while.
Yeah, definitely. I think the biggest thing, if I'm Coach Burke, I'm looking at that behind line and seeing 10 behinds is the only thing that's a little frustrating. But another big win. And the Cats, again, they don't go away. They're in games. They may not have the most talent, but they are a scrappy bunch. I love watching the Cats. They're a lot of fun. You know, when the Cats are playing, it's going to be a tough, close game. Unfortunately, we to the next game, which unfortunately was not either of those things, as the Adelaide Crows go on the road to New South Wales and absolutely smack down the GWS Giants 45-5. I mean, is this the dominance of the Crows, or is this GWS just showing their Jekyll and Hyde streak that they've had all season this year?
Yeah, look, I think it's a mixture. I think the Crows were a bit offended they lost to the Dogs the round before. They probably weren't expecting that, to be honest. And they've come out with a massive vengeance. And unfortunately, the Giants were on the other end of that. But yeah, they're an inconsistent side at the moment, the Giants. They have some really great moments where you think, wow, this team's really on. They've got a lot to challenge. But unfortunately, with a 40-point loss, they just could not get there. And they looked flat as well. They just didn't look like they were in there.
Yeah, and the scary part about it is that 15 behinds for the Crows. I mean, this game was 40 points. It could have been 60 or even 70 if the Crows would have kicked forward and straight through the big sticks. So unfortunately, not to add to it, but the next game is just as ugly as Carlton bounces back from kind of a really ugly patch of footy there to get a big 48-2, a 46-point win over the fledgling Saints. And I don't know if this is Carlton finding their groove, or this is Carlton getting an opponent that really gave them the opportunity to show the skill that they do have.
Yeah, look, it's interesting that the Blues have always been a solid side, and they've worked closely together for 5 or 6, seasons, if you include out the one prior to the beginning of the AFLW. I think the Saints, they've been hit with injuries, and they're not the same side that we saw last season. You don't have those exciting moments, with the booming goals and the really great defense. They've just fallen flat. They sort of faded away before the second quarter. And then you've got seasoned players in Carlton like Vesio, 2 goals, 50-goal milestone. They're having the best season at the moment, and that's so impressive to see because they've played for so long.
Yeah, and Mimi Hill coming back from that ACL and just absolutely tearing it up. Georgia G playing really, really well. Grace Egan, a lot of their stars have played really, really well in this game. They've played okay. They just haven't played what I would say up to their potential. But we'll have to see. Maybe this jump starts them for the second half of the season. We jump to an absolute cracker. Out in the West, I knew this was going to be an interesting game because Richmond has struggled with some of their injury issues, but they get a big win out in the West over the West Coast Eagles, 68-45. And again, Conti, again, I clap my hand because, again, you are absolutely fantastic. Ellie McKenzie, fantastic. This is a great team. I just feel horrible for them because they have been so snake bitten with all of these injuries. This was a team I legit honestly thought could fight for finals this year.
Oh, definitely. And yeah, rough start. They've come together. I think Monique Conti, 24 disposals, 5 clearances and a goal. That's amazing. And then you've got Taylor Stahl, kicked 3 goals. Katie Brennan have 2. They're finding their groove, probably a little bit late in the season. But yeah, the injury plagued, players not always great. And it's hard for a team to bounce back when you're changing so often and the younger recruits are coming in to try and fill those gaps. But the Eagles must be noted, they kicked their biggest score, so that's great to see that the scores in general are going up. So
yeah, and I think West Coast they get a lot of stick because of how horrible they played there for a bit, but they've got some superstars. I think they just there's just something missing. I don't know what it is. There's just something missing for this West Coast Eagles team. I'm hoping they find it, but we'll have to see. We jump to the next game, and for me, this was one of the games of the round because this was our measuring stick. Collingwood, North Melbourne, down in Tassie, North get the chocolates, 38-15, a big 23-point win. And I think this North Melbourne Roos teams, who a lot of people kind of put on the back burner for the finals and for the flag, they're poking their heads going, hey guys, we're here.
Yeah, look, I got to be honest, I didn't have them in my top 5 either. They've surprised me, and they're on their 5th win in a row. Jasmine Garner got to, stick it to her old team, which is always a bit of fun as a player. 26 disposals, 6 marks, 3 goals. I mean, there wasn't a space on that field where she wasn't there. Most of the time she was on the ground. It was awesome to watch. I don't know if Collingwood was suffering from the Perth trip or not. It's, it's one of those things that in most traveling, it's such a long flight. Did it make a difference? All the rounds are up and down. But I think their form has dropped a lot. And, injuries again. Erica Fowler went down with a suspected ankle injury, and that's something they don't really need right now either.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Bree Davy went down, and their whole team, and unfortunately, some of their midfield stars they're still nagging injuries that are just not letting them play their greatest footy. I mean, I still love Chloe Malloy. She's an incredible player, but right now she doesn't have a lot of help. So I think that's kind of the thing that we'll have to see. One thing really quickly on this, her interview before this game, where they're talking about the little, shall we say, not liking, I won't go with hate, the disgust when it comes to it, of how some of the Collingwood players eventually ended up at North, puts a little bit of spice into this game that I had to say was quite interesting going into the game, and then how this game kind of played out. So it's good to see these rivalries, because I think many people want to manufacture the rivalry between Carlton and Collingwood, and it hasn't really progressed in AFLW, where North and Collingwood, there's a little bit of bitterness between these two teams.
Absolutely. And I will say, I'm not sure if maybe North had their ears burning, but I think they kept Malloy to less than 6 disposals that game, which is unheard of. So I think she might have dug herself a bit of a hole there.
Yeah, unfortunately might have been billboard material there. So we'll jump to the last game of what we would consider round 7. And wow, were we treated to the best at last, as the Melbourne Demons go up to Queensland and somehow get a big 3-point win after being down big in this game. I watched this game on tape delay and just wowed. Taylor Harris, an incredible performance, but it looked like the Lions just went cold and flat in that 4th quarter.
I couldn't believe it, because they were, leading by at least 20, 23 points, I think it was. And they looked like they were just going to have an easy day out. Now, I'm not sure what the chat was with the Demons going into that 4th quarter, but it obviously did something. They lifted, and it takes a special kind of team to lift in the 4th. It's quite hard to do, especially when you're tired and, you're probably playing in humid conditions in Brisbane. And yeah, when you've got someone like Harris, who does marking that just makes it look so easy, so light. Her kicks are incredible. You can't fault her at the moment. She's having an absolute blinder of a season.
Yeah, and she's clunking everything that goes near her. But I got to give the proverbial tip of the cap to the coaches. Moving Daisy Pierce to the back, I think really stabilized Melbourne, because you had that experience, because they were having trouble with Hotta and with Farkelson and with I'm totally brain farting one of the other forwards now, but she came back and it was like everything calmed. And that's the one thing I love about Daisy Pierce, is she brought such a calm to that back line. And you could tell it gave confidence then to go forward. Yes, Daisy wasn't up forward, but Taylor Harris was playing well. Most of the demons, I mean, Bannon was absolutely incredible. I love watching her play. Her speed and her pace is absolutely electric. Just a fantastic game.
Paxman also had solid, always such an amazing player to watch. But the sustainability throughout the 4 quarters for Karen Paxman, I can't find the right word, but always impressive. And again, I think brings a sense of calmness to the side, along with Pierce, where they read the play so well and they know each other so well. So they're sort of playing ahead of the game in a way. But yeah, they dominated, and the Lions, I think, probably need a reset. Not much else you can do.
just an incredible game. You got to give hats off to both teams. But then to not go away from it, the next game, the next day, which technically we got to rewind to round 3, because it's a replay of round 3, and that's the Suns and Doggies play to a draw in a similar situation. The Suns were dominating this game, and the Doggies have an absolutely fantastic 4th quarter and get the 2 points out of this. Unfortunately, I'm kind of that opinion, is one of them needed to win to make the finals. The draw might just see both these teams miss it, but what an incredible game this was.
It was awesome to watch. And as a Suns fan, I draw, it's not the best, but the game itself, the intensity, it's something that I haven't seen often with that side yet. The fact that, I think Sarah Perkins really started it off for them with just a casual 50-meter drop punt, and apologizes to the person that she tackled, picked them up, grabbed the ball, and that just, that sets a precedent, I think. And you've got, number 1 draft, Charlie Rowbottom, just incredible skills. I can only imagine, in 2-3 seasons, how she's going to be. So, but despite the Dogs, they really did. They came back from the brink. I guess you want to be dramatic. Came back from the brink. Morris Dalton, what an incredible player.
Yeah.
Just
absolutely incredible.
And then Kirsty Lamb had such a great game as well. And then Bonnie Toogood, just loves a goal, loves how to read the ball. And even if she doesn't, she might not hit the chest and mark it clear, but can do groundwork very easily. And they all worked so well together. So you can see why they just brought it back to the Suns. Shockingly great game, but draw. Oof.
I'm going to take a crazy take here. Honestly, if I'm the All-Australian, get Christy Lamb into the All-Australian. Come on, you got to give her that, because she is just absolutely.
She's earned it so much.
I know everybody loves Ellie Blackburn, and she's the backbone of that Western Bulldogs team, but gosh darn it. I mean, Christy Lamb, she has pulled this Doggies team onto her back and said, ladies, we are going for it. And I have loved watching her play. I felt horrible for Bonnie Toogood on that spray on that final kick. I honestly thought she had it. And when it went out on the full, I was like, oh, I felt so horrible.
And it's unusual for her. Yeah.
Exactly.
And it's great to see Rocky Cranston playing so well after, the Geelong and not playing the best and having a few rough years. This has been a really great fit, I think. Just niggles at the players, gets in there, does all those 1% things. And I think the pressure's off Rocky to have to do these magic goals and all this. When you've got players like Lamb and Toogood and Morris Dalton, you've got Cranston to back it up. It's a great little combo.
Yeah, especially and one player that I've noticed that it's kind of had a change of position is Sarah Hartwig. They moved her up forward.
Mm,
And it was interesting hearing the announcers say that Coach Burke said that she was almost as good a contested mark as Izzy Huntington, which is, I mean, that's a big call there.
yeah, that's
But
huge.
for him to be able to trust her to move her up forward, and she had several really, really good attacks on the footy when the ball was on the ground, that you could tell she had been playing defender because she was so good at corralling the defender and keeping them from being able. So she made a couple of great plays. You got it.
Yeah.
She with some score involvements later. So I love this doggies team. The young pups, I can't wait to watch them grow up. I think this is going to be such a fun team to watch over the next few years. Especially if Ellie Blackburn can stay at this, Christy Lamb. The
Yeah.
doggies, keep an eye on the doggies in Richmond and Gold Coast. I think are three teams on the rise for the next few seasons. I'm really going to keep an eye on. And then to not be outdone, the final game of the round, but is technically in round 8 by some people's schedules, is the game that just happened 2 nights ago. And for the
Yeah.
first time in AFLW history, we have a game winner after the siren as GWS knocks off the Saints 41-39. This may not be the greatest example of excellent champagne footy, but darn was it an exciting game. And holy, oh my gosh, a goal after the siren. This is awesome.
It was incredible, and it was, at their home ground. The Saints really wanted it as well. But when you get a goal on the siren, I think the pressure of it is just so immense. And it was just so beautiful to see it happen because, again, in such a young AFLW sort of situation, we don't see that often.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can see these little things are happening now, the draws, the goals after the siren, the high scoring games. It's all coming together, and it's marvelous.
I completely agree. And I will raise my hand. There were a few umpiring decisions that I even sat there and went, "Ooh, that was interesting. Interesting
The 50,
interpretation." But
50 meters is
well, see, if you look at it, and you could tell Lee Montaigne and the broadcasting had no idea where the 50 came from, but they showed a camera angle later, and I feel horrible. The rather taller forward, not Greiser. I'm trying, I'm losing my. There's one camera where they show after she gets the free kick, after the bump, which some people thought the 50 was for that. Sheador or something is actually holding on to Alicia Eva as Eva is trying to lead towards the 50.
Yeah,
And I think that's what they called the 50
that's
on,
what it was.
because
Yeah.
you could tell she was absolutely in tears after the game, and you feel horrible, but it's one of those, it's an instinct. You don't want that forward or that
No,
midfielder
and
to be able to get into a leading position to have a shot after the siren. So it's one of those, you feel horrible because they did something out of instinct,
yeah.
and it actually cost them the game. And for
Look,
the sake, go ahead.
yeah, 9 times out of 10, you'll do that and you won't get picked up.
Mm-hmm.
There's slight movements and things, and you see it in AFL men's as well. It's just like you said, it's an instinct. You want to stick with your player, and the game's on the line, and of course you'll feel horrible because but you can't deny someone kicking after the siren. That's out of your hands as well. So
Mm-hmm. And you
yeah, it's
never
a
know.
tough
She
one.
could have kicked. She could have kicked it behind too, and it wouldn't. And it would
Exactly.
have been a one. And it would have been
And
a
then
win
she
for the
would have felt
Saints.
horrible. So it's just one of those
Exactly.
things. So
And I'm it was such an interesting game for me, but the excitement level was absolutely awesome. And I got to give a shout out to that Giants fan that was almost screaming the entire game. Dude, we heard you. I absolutely
yeah,
loved that. That's
the
absolutely
passion is
fantastic.
amazing.
Absolutely fantastic. And that is going to do it for what was kind of round 3, 5, and 7, all kind of melded
What
together
a
after the
mix.
way this year has gone. But I want to jump right into it because this is an absolutely scintillating round of footy, and it gets started right off the bat.
Yep.
Fremantle, Adelaide Crows, Fremantle Oval. I gotta ask Sasha, who do you like in this one? Because I'm skipping back and forth between these two teams on this one.
Yeah, they're actually in my mind, I feel like they're very similar sides in the way they play.
Mm-hmm.
The physicality, the pace. So I feel like it's very even at the moment. Being that it's a Frio's home, I feel like they're going to edge Crows out, even after the big win that they've had. I just have that's my yeah.
And I'm with you on that one. I tipped Frio in this one. I bounced back and forth, but Frio always play well at home. And the fact they've had a week off, they haven't played, they can rest up. Adelaide, again, they're not like they had a super tough game this week, but that's not an easy going from New South Wales, fly back to South Australia, and then fly out to Western
And
WA. So I'm going to tip Frio in this one, but this is an absolute dandy. I cannot wait for this. This is a decent time for me here in the States at 10:10 my time. So I'm going to watch, I'm going to sit
perfect.
down with my popcorn. Cannot wait for that one.
The
But the
other
next,
thing, just to mention, Donnie, sorry
Mhm.
to interrupt,
You're good.
is whether Randall and Phillips are going to be playing for
Mhm.
the Crows as well. So that could also impact.
Yep. Yeah, I will have to see. I wouldn't be surprised
Mm,
if Aaron Phillips doesn't play because she came up quite proppy after that one, and I'd rather have her for the finals. Personally, as a coach, I'd rather
yeah,
have her for the
yeah,
finals than trying to play her here and potentially risking an injury that could cost her finals
yeah,
opportunities.
very
But
true.
the Crows are still such a good side. Even if they lose this game, I'm not going to sit here and go, oh, they're not the final contender. They're
Yeah,
still a finals flag. They're a flag contender no matter what, because it is never easy to go to Norwood. The Duggies get a big
no.
one, but nobody saw that one coming. So we jump from that one to, I still think this is a really good game, and I cannot wait for this one down at the Swinburne Center. Tigers
Hmm.
v Cats. I'm fascinated by this one because you get a very, very good Melon Conti versus a very, very good Georgie Prasparkas. This is going to be a fun midfield battle. I think Richmond's going to have just a tiny bit too much for this Cats team that sometimes has trouble scoring, but this is going to be an absolute dandy, especially considering, does Meg McDonald take Brennan, or
Mm.
does she take somebody else? It'll be very interesting to see what that all Australian defender does. Does she take Miss Brennan and try to take her out of the game? We'll have to see. Who do you like in this one?
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with the Tigers. Geelong, I think, will put up a good fight, and I think they're in the right headspace now. But again, it's that four-quarter football, and I think the Tigers probably have the legs to do that.
Yeah, it'll be fascinating. Oh, and oh my gosh, another absolutely dandy one down in the fortress that is Casey Fields as the Melbourne Demons host uh, a team that I think has surprised a lot of people, and that is the North Melbourne Kangaroos. Who do you like in this one?
Oh, that's so hard to choose because they're both in really prime condition. I think if Taylor Harris played the way she did alongside Daisy Pearce, maybe they'll keep her in the back line, depending, or maybe they'll put her on Carney. You never know.
Mm-hmm.
I think Melbourne, but I'm hoping it's a close game, just for my excitement levels more than anything.
I'm
Yeah.
100% with you. I think Casey Fields is always a tough place to play. North's a consistent team, so I don't think it's going to affect them as much. The biggest thing is,
Mm,
can Taylor Harris get loose? If she gets loose, it's going to be a long day for that Melbourne backline. So I'm really interested to see so many great matchups in this one. Cannot wait. So
there
many
is, yeah.
superstars. Absolutely fantastic game. One that I know you're going to keep a really big eye on down at the Trevor Barker Oval, and that is St. Kilda versus your beloved Gold Coast Suns. So I'll tip this one first. I have the Suns. I like
Yeah,
this. The Saints have been playing much better footy. Xanos has been playing really well. This team is starting to kind of find themselves. But Gold Coast, I just like the way they're playing. That game against the Duggies, they showed some fight back after a less than ideal game against the Brisbane Lions. So I'm going to tip the Suns in this one, even on the road.
yeah. I'll tip the Suns. Not just because they're my team, but yeah, I do think that out of the two, they're the better option. Even though it is a Saints home game, I feel like yeah, they're just not there. They're going to have to just look ahead to the 2022-23 season, I think, rather than what's happening at the moment.
Yeah, sadly, unfortunately, those two young superstars in the midfield, I think,
Mm,
have really kind of thrown Nick Del Santo's team for a loop this year, because those were two solid. Tiana Smith ACL, Georgie Prasparga,
yeah,
Georgia Patrikios with the vaccination thing. I'm
yeah,
hoping things get figured out. We'll have to see, because St. Kilda is such they're a rich football team, and they had a couple of superstars, and I hate
they
seeing
do.
them struggle, but unfortunately it's the way this one goes. We'll jump to Victoria Park. Another cracking one is Collingwood looks to try to bounce back against a Doggies team that, as we've discussed, is hitting their stride. Do the Doggies go into Victoria Park and get a win, or does Collingwood somehow find that 4 points that maybe they didn't think they might get.
Yeah, it's a tough one. And again, I'm backing the doggies because they're in form now. I feel like Pies are in that sort of same back end category with the Saints and Giants, where, yeah, they have moments of really great footy, but not enough to sustain, getting themselves through the top 8. And I just don't think that's something that they need, that they'll be able to look at going like, finals and whatnot. Yep. So, yeah.
And for me, the biggest factor that I'm going to say this, I'm going to tip Collingwood, but it's not because of Collingwood is a better footy team. It's the Dogs have been through an absolute whirlwind when it comes to playing so many games. They just played an absolute cracking game up in Gold Coast in that heat. Will that affect them coming to this week with such a short break? I'm a little leery on this team. Are they going to run out of legs early? So I'm going to tip Collingwood in this one. But I think the Doggies are in this one. I think this is an absolute dandy game at Victoria Park. I think that'll be a cracker. The Doggies can win it. I'm worried that will they run out of steam because of so many games in such a short amount of time.
And it's something you need to think about, especially with all these rounds being up in the air and then playing at 7 in a row. It's full on.
Unfortunately. So we jump to it. We'll jump back out west Coast again, getting a nice little run of games at home, face a Brisbane Lions team coming off of a tough loss against the Melbourne Demons. If I'm the Eagles, I'm a little terrified because this Lions team is very, very good. And if I'm the Lions team, this is a chance for you to put a nice percentage win on the board here. I like the Lions in this one.
I do too. I feel like they're not going to take any prisoners with this game. They're just, they're going to try and pile it on. And they, I think they will. West Coast, they're just not matured yet. And they'll get there. And especially when the new teams come in, they'll have that advantage. But right now, they're just not looking great.
It'll definitely be interesting. And then the last game of this particular round is quite an interesting one for me, and that's GWS at home at Manuka Oval against the Carlton Blues. I took a while to think about tipping this one because oh man, I couldn't pick. Do I take the team that's played really well but has been super inconsistent this season, or the team that's Jekyll and Hyde inconsistent? They have great game, they have bad game. They have great game, they have bad game. I'm going to tip GWS in this one because I just think that big win, I think, is going to give them a little bit of positive momentum. It could come back to bite them because sometimes these games do kind of mess with you at the start of the first game. I'm going to tip GWS, but this could be an absolute dandy.
Yeah, I think it'll be a really great match, but I also picking GWS. Just my main thing is I don't think Carlton are the best on the road. They always seem more comfortable playing, obviously, at Icon Park, but also in Melbourne. And I do think GWS, after last match, they're ready for a win again. They've come off of this, siren excitement, and they're going to be back at home. So I just feel like that might edge out Carlton.
Yeah, it'll be a cracking game. Cannot wait for it. But man, what a round. I'm super excited for this round. Sasha, I thank you for joining me. This has been absolutely fantastic. We chatted Gold Coast. I really wanted to talk AFLW with you. So thank you so much for joining me.
You're welcome. No, I've had a blast. I love speaking to you, Donnie.
Awesome. And please do me a favor. Please relay to the Chicks Talking Footy. I miss your guys' podcast. I know tons of things have been going on. I really, really miss the podcast, being able to listen. So please relay to the fellow Chicks. I cannot wait till you guys are back. I understand life happens. Sometimes you can't do it. So please relay to them. I miss the podcast. I cannot wait to chat with them some more. I think I've got Fee set up to talk later on in this year, which I cannot wait because she has been such an incredible addition to my chats for these podcasts. So thank you again so much. Have a wonderful day. I know you've got to get to work, so I'm not going to take up any more of your time.
That's right.
Have a wonderful day. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been another episode in my AFLW round review. We're getting closer and closer to finals, ladies and gentlemen. Keep an eye out, and we'll see you again next week.